with music from by Celtic Design.
Scrap. Okay, so my sound should be okay. Now to make sure that the sound of everyone else is okay.
Okay, so I will stop eating ice cream and just start talking then.
Okay, I hope we don't have feedback now. That should be fine.
Yeah, I have a little, not too much.
It's probably still the lag though. People on the chat, let me know if the sound is okay or not. If you can hear our guests fine once they speak up, and if you can hear the demo fine as well.
Just share your ice cream. Yeah, well, I will try. It's actually just licorice and vanilla ice cream, and it's really good.
Oh, licorice. And this thing with licorice on Scandinavian countries. When I remember when I was there were all sorts of flavors. There were all licorice and salmiakki flavored and stuff like that. Like, why? And then cloudberry flavored and blueberry flavored and raspberry flavored. Like, yeah, you guys have a thing for berries. You really like your berries.
It is nice, you know. I must say.
I'm gonna rearrange editing a little bit here. Window. Okay, test if the full screen is working. It is. Great. Okay, so we should be ready to go. We still have 8 minutes though, so what we're watching right now, for those who just joined in, is the one-file demo called Quadrants by Genesis Project. I think we have some members from Genesis Project in here. Maybe they can tell us a little bit more about what we're actually watching. This was part of a competition, wasn't it? Raistlin?
Yeah, so it's the ECM competition, and this was Shadow's entry. It just released it today.
Okay.
So it's really nice. I think it's got like 10 out of 10 on CSDB at the moment.
With 2 people voting, right? Oh.
So a competitive compo, eh?
Yeah, 17 votes actually, Mahoney.
Ooh, 7 people.
In your face!
No, CSDB is a cool place. It's kind of strange, all the voting though. But I guess it would be very bad if there were no voting at all, because it would be pretty boring. So, so I guess the voting does something. I'm not sure it's completely good though, but...
Do you guys usually vote at parties? Because I usually don't. Now with the lockdown, it's somehow easier to vote, and you don't have anything else to do, so you might as well be voting on the voting system. But at parties, I usually don't bother voting, because it always feels like it's name voting and not really that you're not really doing much, and until that result there's like 1 vote difference, and you realize that you should actually have voted.
You should have done something about it, yeah.
So what's your stand on that? You guys always vote at X and stuff like that?
Yeah, at X definitely, because I mean, X is such a great event, and I fully support all the different creative people that comes there, which means that I feel obliged to vote because they put so much effort into the releases. And
it's a really hard combo to vote though, like so many releases.
Yeah. I mean, Bonsai, they kind of won 4 years ago just because all the people that voted in the beginning, they got drunk and fell asleep. So there were much less votes in the end of the combo than in the beginning, which meant that, and they didn't, they didn't score on average votes. They score on the total sum of the votes. So Bonsai probably won just because they were first, showed first in the combo. But they deserved it, of course. Hooray for Denmark. But
Boost design tactics. You make sure that you make everybody drunk in the beginning of the compo, so they all fall asleep before the last part.
Probably.
I usually make people vote instead at Gubdata. We actually use pen and paper still.
Oh.
Old school.
Yeah,
so you go around one by one, and have you voted yet?
Yes.
That's a nice way to make sure that people vote.
I am a teacher actually, so I use that skill.
Social engineering to make sure that your party has the most number of votes possible.
I don't know if you realize, but David is a very much social person, and he knows where to push every person's button to make sure they vote.
Oh, you're not gonna vote? Do you remember that party 5 years ago where you lost by 1 vote? Maybe if you voted, this would have been different. That demo that you really like, you got 3rd place instead of 2nd because you didn't vote.
Oh, we have Bonsai in the chat as well. Hi, Bonsai. I'm very glad that you make demos, especially for X. I love them. Just as much as I love.
So what's happening with X? It got delayed to 2021?
Yep.
Yep. But
What
not
if,
Genesis Project's demos, though.
Yeah,
They're
you did
the only group who released their X demo this year, actually.
at that function, I guess.
Yeah.
The Liturgy guys were also pretty active this year. I wonder if their function demo wasn't also for X. But they are Hungarian in nature, I think, so I guess it's normal for them to support function.
Yeah.
Was that the Game of Thrones? Or which demo was that?
Yeah, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
I recognize quite a lot of parts in that one, actually.
I had very mixed feelings about that demo, but I guess we'll talk about that later on when we're actually seeing that. It felt like, I don't know, it felt like gimmicky, like they were just doing that to please. But
No,
it's,
but
it's like they're not pleasing sceners, they're pleasing gamers, but then there's not a high percentage of gamer people watching, so that just felt weird. I don't know.
It's exactly the same category as the Star Wars intro from, what's the name? Another project, right? Sensor design, right?
Yeah, Star Wars demo, yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of also a mixed bag of emotions when you combine the Star Wars franchise with retro.
Yeah.
It's like,
And if you really liked the franchise, you still have shared emotions or mixed emotions because you don't know if you like the tribute or if you don't.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, we have a Jackass here as well. And Brave Guru, hi.
Welcome everybody.
Welcome.
We're about to get started, 3 minutes left, so we're already playing one of the demos from the playlist. We have a large playlist, so I guess we might as well see it. This is the concert by Performers, and I believe you had a hand in this, Mahoney.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we started with the L-Man's excellent tune, which is actually the last thing in the demo, and then we tried to build some kind of story around that, working our way backwards, more or less. So we needed a build-up where we tried to make all these game characters actually trying to go to the concert. And that was the common story among all the parts, more or less. And I mean, it's always difficult with graphics. I mean, the graphics we see now, all of these game characters in isometric 3D. The idea was ready long before the graphics were drawn, so it was very much a last-minute job of putting together the graphics in there.
It's a lot of graphics. It's a very long scroller, so there was a lot of work right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we had the commando part, which I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but it's always nice with large scrollers, right?
I don't know if you've just seen Monty down there. Sounds a bit weird though. Don't know if this is the capture or if it's...
No, I don't know. It very much disappears when I'm talking, but I've heard the songs before, so... At the end of this spinning commando guy here, there's a bullet coming right at you. And it's actually a 37 frame animation of zooming that bullet.
37 frames for that?
Yes, exactly. But I mean, it's easy, so why not really? But this part here with the layered scroll, I had some quite hard thinking before I made the code for this one, because I wanted it to feel like having 3 layers on top of each other on the Commodore 64. That would be a piece of cake doing on the Amiga, but on the C64 it's not really made for graphics like this. So But the problem with this one is that every time you watch it on YouTube, the only thing you get is like distortions and artifacts from the video encoding, because there's so many unnatural edges going on in this demo that it's just garbage when you look at it on a streaming web video site, really. But most of the disc is actually most of the first disc of this demo is taken by all the layers in this demo, because it's constantly loading the next animation and the next segment between the colors going upwards and the scrolling upwards. So it's
preloading all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So it's loading constantly. And actually, I started with the last part of this part has noise in it, so it's actually kind of a white noise thing. It will come in half a minute, I think. And I actually saved all that noise to disk, which was a really bad idea because noise doesn't pack that well. So when we ran out of disk space on the first disk side, I actually made a noise generator instead. But it's kind of slow, so here is the noise, and then it kind of took a while to calculate the noise while the demo was running.
I'm trying to figure out the audio while you speak, and I think one of you guys is doing some feedback, and that's why we have extra audio sometimes.
Yeah, it's not me. The only feedback I am giving is from me eating ice cream, I guess.
Yeah, there it is. I have everything lowered, and I still hear some remnants. So one of you guys is doing echo.
I'll try turning mine off.
No, it's still on. So hedning, I guess that's you.
Hmm?
Try muting yourself a bit.
Is that better?
Yes, we don't hear it anymore.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Anyways, it's past 8, so let me just introduce our guests real quick, and then we can keep talking about this demo. So welcome everybody to Mystery Demoscene Theater 9000 Season 5 episode. I have no fucking clue which episode it is anymore. Today we're doing a C64 special with raistlin, hedning, and the legend Mahoney from shit hundred of 500 groups that you guys are in. So the plan for today is that we're going to talk a little bit about Mahoney's journey in the demo scene with 2 demos. One of them is already playing, and then we are going to cover 2020 C64 demos that have been happening and get some comments from everyone. Music by Elman. So Mahoney, you were telling us about this demo. This was not your first demo by far. This was released in like 2006, 12, something like that.
4 years ago.
And you're like actually a legend. You really came from like the 80s, no? Am I mistaken?
My first demos were made in 1985, so it's kind of 35 years ago.
And you became very famous for Mahoney and Cactus, I know that much.
Yeah, I got a question, where is Cactus? Titus Rob was asking, and actually I'm working with him, so every day I spend not in an office, because we're not allowed to be in an office, but virtually we kind of speak every day.
And so you haven't convinced him to come back yet?
Yeah, I'm trying.
It's a work in progress.
But no, he's not on his way back to the retro scene. But we talk every day, and we kind of haven't got bored yet of each other. So that's cool. I meet him at least, and I try to bring him to the local parties. So hedning has met him a couple of times at Good Data, and so at least he goes to the local parties.
Yeah, that's a good start. At least he keeps in touch with the scene a little bit.
Absolutely. So he doesn't watch demos, but whenever there's something worth knowing, then I tell him, of course.
You were mostly doing stuff in the Amiga back then. Did you start on Commodore 64 and then go to Amiga, or was it the other way around?
Yeah, absolutely. I had the Commodore 64 from 1985 to 1988.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 3 years of making C64 demos. Then Cactus bought an Amiga, and I kind of had to do it as well. Then we made this North Star Phalite Mega Demo 3, part of what they were doing, and then I started making the noise tracker, and yeah, the rest is history. The rest is history, but then in 1991... It was
one of the most famous trackers back then.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the most used tracker, absolutely. What I didn't make it compatible with like floppy drives or hard drives on Amiga. So whenever someone installed a hard drive on their Amiga, it didn't start up. So it was crashing if you had a hard drive. And I guess that was the main reason for people, well, improving it and making Pro Tracker and the rest of the clones that came afterwards. Because in 1991 I sold my Amiga and said like, well, I'm done with this. So
You really sold it?
absolutely.
So were
Actually,
you just had a PC or?
No. I sold my Amiga for almost the same money that I bought it for, because I mean the second-hand value of Amigas back then was really high, and
It still is pretty high nowadays. They're
And
even
now
more
it's
expensive
crazy.
now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I bought the Amiga in Germany, so it was kind of smuggled into Sweden in the trunk of a car, just to get a cheaper one. And then, then I sold it in Sweden to a person I didn't know. But at least I got all my money back from buying the Amiga, so that was great. And from 1991 to 2003, I think, was kind of the black years, because then I didn't code any demos or anything. I kind of started having a PC and.
But you weren't related to the demo scene back then, just...
No, not really. And it wasn't until Chris Abbott started this Back in Time live concerts with like Rob Hubbard and Ben Daglish and those kind of heroes. And suddenly I was invited to Back in Time Live Brighton in 2003, I think. And just for fun, I made a demo that they could show before the concert on a real 64, with Rob Hubbard music, featuring Rob Hubbard on the stage.
That's
so
just
it was
total legendary.
Yeah, it was just okay. What has happened for the last couple of years? Yeah, I realized people were doing cross-compiling and not compiling natively on the C64, etc. So I kind of try to keep up with the changes made in the. We're actually watching a demo, but I can say I'm not concentrating on the demo.
It's so long anyways, so... but
yeah.
if there's anything you want to talk about demo, by all means.
No, I just say that the audio here is marvelous. I mean, Elman is a real top musician, and so we tried to build the demo around that, but we had trouble because Veto is doing the graphics here. We were supposed to have like 3 different scenes in the last part of the demo, but he only managed to deliver the graphics for 1 scene. And
Oops.
4 hours before the deadline at X, he actually delivered the graphics for a 2nd scene for the last part. But then we were kind of, no, we won't go there. So
Final version.
Yeah,
Isn't there a 100% version of it?
No, we talked about it, but that never happened. But we had to try to make people actually listen to the song, because that song is like 4 minutes long. So we need something to keep people busy, and that was the one-liners down below. It's just a way of keeping you occupied with thinking about something, at least so you get to hear the music.
And it's good because it's not the standard scroller that the C64 is so commented for. So
No.
it's different.
Yeah, but you realize it's really difficult to come up with something funny to say in like 38 characters.
Yeah.
So we kind of had a bit, all day at X we were walking around trying to interview people to write one-liners for the last part.
Getting special contributions, one-liner contributions to the demo.
Yeah, that's true. But you can actually skip the rest of the demo and go to the next one, because...
You have a long playlist.
Yeah, exactly. So
Was this the first Performers demo? The one in 2016?
Yeah, it was. We just invented the name Performers almost at X, because we just needed a name. It used to be... I mean, we had the Noisy Bunch, which was me and Human Code Machine and Mixer. We were kind of doing these Sid Vicious demos. But they were very audio oriented. And now we tried to do something else, something that just combined coder porn with graphics as well. And so we just needed a new group name, because I mean, Human Code Machine and Mahoney and Friends, that wouldn't be a good name.
So it's a bit too long.
Yeah, and I mean, when people in like Oxeron and those guys kind of made 2 large demos, and no, we don't want to do that again. Then we kind of nicked some of the best people in those groups and just try to do something else.
There's a lot of tendency in the demo scene, I think, on C64 as well, because I mostly know the PC scene, to have like people are friends with other groups, so you end up having this mixture of like 3, 4. Well, Eugenesis Project is a big culprit in that as well, with the collaboration with Oxyron and Fairlight and Sensor Design, I think. So I think it tends to happen because socially you start to know the other people and you start collaborating more outside of your group. This tendency that we have like a small group of friends and we always just work with these friends is a bit obsolete by now. I think you guys agree.
Yeah, I mean, the way I do it is like I have an idea, I kind of see if it works in code, but to put that into a demo that's worthy of showing at X is actually, for me, a huge effort. So I try to find people that can give that extra touch that I can't in a demo. So I mean, these kinds of graphics scrollers that you see here, number one, I wouldn't code that routine, and number two, I wouldn't have someone to say, oh, draw some nice graphics. It's going to be eight screens long and it's going to scroll diagonal for 2 minutes, if that's okay.
Can you do it by tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. And we had to redo that graphics quite a number of times because it's packed. Because they drew some kind of octopusy and some arms, tentacles around it. And they were so difficult to pack, which meant that the disk drive couldn't cope up with reading it all at the same time as it was scrolling. So when someone thought like, oh, I'm done, here's the graphics, and we just you're not done, because that part is crashing because your graphics contains too many pixels. So it's not an easy to get a demo of this caliber together.
Comparing with the PC scene, it seems like you have a lot more artists on the C64 that are still active and wanting to collaborate than we managed to find on the PC scene. So that's really good. Do you guys agree?
Perhaps. Yeah, because I mean, you have you need to cope with the format. I mean, you still have 16 colors and you can't do anything about it. And some people like that. I mean, it's too easy to take. Yeah, the challenge. I mean, on the PC side, you're stuck with like 3D stuff and 3D models, and it's very much just in the shaders that you do the magic. But here you don't have that way of cheating. I mean, if you take this football here, for instance, yeah, if you're gonna do this on a sub 1 megahertz computer that has no graphics card, no GPU, whatever, well, you need to cheat, of course. So cheating is all we do. Everything you see on the Commodore 64 screen that looks impressive is just cheating.
It's all animation.
It's all animation, but that football is actually real-time wrapped in and mirrored in 8 directions, both the characters and the char sets. And I mean, the cube you see here, yeah, it's kind of pre-calculated, so we know which part of the screen that needs to be changed, and you kind of just update the parts of the screen that is changed, because filling the complete screen with a X or filling it's not just possible. And this kind of animation where you see a disk drive that's bending, yeah, of course it's an animation, because calculating that in real time is just a no-no. You can't do that. But the amount of people watching Commodore 64 demos that knows about the limitations is rapidly decreasing. So you need to think about that. You need to create something that's visually appealing. And
it's not just color porn, but also has like some sort of graphic entity or graphic image to it that appeals to people.
Yeah, but since we have like Bitbreaker in performers, and he's really doing color porn, like how many dots can you have on the screen at the same time? Yeah, some people just love these parts. But at X you can see who they are, because that's the one standing up applauding, and the other ones is like, it's a white screen with some almost stars. I can't really see them, so why bother? Then we have the other parts who sees a picture like this and say like, "Oh, that's a really nice portrait." So that's the other half, and we try to combine all of these. And then you have the German guys who say like, "Saufen, yeah," which means go drink, more or less. So you
try to appeal to all the audiences.
Yeah, exactly. You need to pitch your ideas and pinpoint them to all of the different people that actually are in the audience. So, but I like the coder porn most, actually. So, I mean, human code machine making a scroller like this is just awesome when I see it. It looks very easy, but it's actually a lot of work. I think he spent
one of the things that I think the C64 has a bit of an advantage over other more modern platforms, that it's been around for so long and people have been seeing so many demos in it that they kind of know what is possible and what is not possible. So they've seen a lot of scrollers and they see like this one, I never seen anything like this, so this must be hard technically to pull off.
Yeah, it is. It's a very Amiga-ish effect. And of course, when you're at the party and someone screams, Amiga, then you know you've done something good. And then Trap, yes, I agree with you. Of course, it's not just animations, because there's quite a lot of thought going into how you animate stuff and how you pre-calc stuff. If you just take this part, for instance, where Bitbreaker is doing an excellent job of stenciling 3D graphics, of course it's not just an animation. This is actually really a lot of hard work in unrolling code loops to be able to copy all of this graphics into one bitmap and doing it with a decent frame rate. So no, it's not just animations. Some are more and some are less. But then again, real-time 3D calculations for this would be stupid, I would say. But of course, I mean, this joystick here, yes, it's an animation. But it is an animation that's real-time mirrored in 8 directions, just as a football. And I mean, all the colors that you have is, of course, rasters all over the screen. So you need to think about how much you can animate and how much you can update and when, due to where you are on the screen, etc. And this greeting screen here is just insane. I mean, you have rasters on every third scan line, and then you update one sprite and calculate the acceleration, the position, etc. on every scan line. And then you have these jumping guys in the background.
Yeah, a person who doesn't know the Commodore 64 and is not a coder will just think that this is fucking ugly.
But it's made to be ugly. No, I got some comments on using these ugly colors. I don't even...
It's the colors of the Commodore 64? What else can I use?
Yeah, but actually, the thing about that part, I don't know, not many of you have played the game... Angry Birds Go, I think it was called. It was a racing game with Angry Birds. And the thing about Angry Birds Go was it was a racing track with all the colors you could imagine. It was purple and light and yellow and blue.
Dutch color scheme.
Yes, you were just attacked by colors. And I thought of that greetings screen to be an attack of the colors. And I would want every single color on the screen everywhere, more or less.
Okay.
And then again, I mean, this demo ends with Elman's music again. But then it's the Romeo Knight... from C-Bit, what was it called? C-Bit, what was the year?
So C-Bit 18 there.
18, yeah, but that's when we redid it, 91 or something.
It was remixed from the original C-Bit.
C-Bit 90, so it was a remix from the Romeo Knights music from the Amiga demo.
Evil is saying 91, so maybe it's 91.
Yeah, something like that. But, so it was fun, but then again, I mean, this looks very easy. It's just a scroller and some text. But then you realize that you're actually calculating additional 3 sample voices while the demo is running. So the audio is much more than just the SID playing. So it's all about digitizing samples and calculating them on the go. Which was kind of the reason why I came back to the C64, because I got really inspired by Mixer and his 8-bit sample playing routines. And that got me started thinking about, well, can we improve this? Can we do something else? Can we make it even better? And that dream of playing Amiga-ish music samples on the Commodore 64. Human Code Machine started on it. I helped him out a little, and well, I think we got actually to the point where you could use Amiga type modules combined with the best of SID sounds and actually have a demo at the same time.
How do you do the digitization for people who don't know? I heard this being explained to me a few times, but I still don't quite understand. I think you have like a noise channel on the SID that you can kind of use, and you abuse it for that. Yeah,
what you do is you start with a microphone, so you have a microphone like this. And then you sample the sounds, of course, and you do that in any kind of tracker. So you start with making a tracker song, and that tracker song is allowed to have like 2 or 3 channels, not 4, because that will take too long, too much CPU time. And then you, every second, in this part, for instance, every second raster line, which is every 26th clock cycle, you need to update 4 registers. So you need to write to 4 registers exactly synced to the screen, which means that most of the time spent with the CPU is used for updating the SID registers. And what it does is actually triggers a sawtooth waveform with a test bit, so we know when it rises. We set the pitch of it to the amplitude we want, and after exactly 126 clock cycles we switch to make the waveform just temporarily output the output of the sawtooth waveform, and then we shut it off again. So with those 4 writes, we kind of can set the amplitude in as a sample and whole waveform. And that is just crazy. And on top of that one, for the part of the CPU that's not occupied by outputting these timing cycle exact writes, we kind of try to add samples and walk through the memory at different speeds to just add these samples together. And
crazy stuff.
It's really crazy. And on top of that, you actually, as you can see, Human Code Machine managed to replicate an Amiga demo with a scroller and the text on top of that one. What you don't have time for is the 3D graphics of the original C-bit demo. So that would be impossible. But we did the best we could, at least. So
maybe with 2 Commodore 64s together, you can only Amiga makes it possible.
Yeah, there's a question in chat here. Where did the Have a Noise Night, where did that come from? And actually, it comes from my friend Peter Sandén. Peter Sandén was known as Panda of Defiers back in the 80s. He switched name to Yodel King as well, of Defiers. And we were kind of joking one night a long time ago about bad English and English pronunciation. So have a nice night or have a nice night. That's almost like have a nice night. Like, hey mate. So that kind of stuck. And since I started with Noise Tracker, it was kind of fun for me to just say, right, have a noise night instead of have a nice night.
So you're going to be tracking all night. That's pretty much what it means, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. So that was the end of that demo. We're looking at something else.
Now we're looking at Jämtland. Did I say that correctly?
You haven't been speaking at all, so it's time for you to tell what that is.
Well, this is a Swedish, what do you call it, landskap in Swedish? An area. Sorry? Scenery, yes, a landscape. It means landscape, but it's a part of Sweden that historically belonged to Norway. And it was occupied by Sweden 350 years ago about that. And they still have some local patriotism there going on. And this is a salute for that part of Sweden. It's for me, it's far up north, but it's not really. It's halfway north of Sweden. If you look at a map.
But we can still make jokes of them being really, really far away, right?
Yeah. And me and Mahoney will live down south.
We live in Copenhagen, almost.
Yeah, almost.
Just across the bridge from Copenhagen.
Old Denmark. Also occupied by Sweden.
Don't go there, please.
Did everything belong to Sweden at some point, or was it belonging to the Danish, actually? Were the original Vikings Danish? So.
We didn't have any countries during the Viking Age, really. It was Scandinavians. Denmark and Norway formed around 900,000, about that. So.
Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. We're going to see more of that later tonight, actually, in the Remains demo. But this is original, right?
Yeah, I think so. This is made by Shadow, I think. And Mermaid also helped with the graphics here, and Red Crab. I think Norland also have a part. This is Red Crab grasp.
This is the ocean in Jämtland. It's like this.
Yeah.
Very
the big
ancient creatures there.
That's actually Storsjöodjuret. That's Loch Ness of Sweden.
The Loch Ness of Sweden.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you have it here. That's the description of it.
It's a lake monster reported to live in the 90-meter deep lake Storsjön in Jämtland. And it was first reported in 1635.
Wow, I didn't know you had your own Nessie.
Take that, Stockholm.
I wonder which date Loch Ness had. I mean, that must be later.
Maybe they ripped you off. Maybe they went to Sweden. Someone went to Sweden like, we need this in Scotland.
We need a monster ourselves in the lake. Oh,
This is a local folk song in original dialect above and then English below. And a kid sleeping here with a plush
monster.
with a monster looking.
With a monster
at the
friend.
kid.
And up there you have the Norwegian flag and the Jämtland flag. Okay. On the south there. And I know Mermaid and Red Crab and Norland, they have this Norwegian Jämtland connection going. So that's and also of course where this was released up in Fjelldata.
It was a really nice party, like 30 people around a fire, more or less a fireplace. Well, with a grand piano just to the right of it, and then demos to the left of it. So really, really cozy place.
You do have a lot of small parties in Sweden. Is it just because you don't have that many population, or is it just more cozy to be with small parties? It seems like you have like a party almost every month. Well, not now, obviously, but I mean,
no, but we used
2-3
to have
years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just because I don't know a reason for why we have those. I guess there are a couple of eldsjälar, a couple of persons who actually thinks this is the best way I know of being social with people. Mm-hmm. So a person like Hedning, for instance, he just says like, I need to meet my friends online or in real life. So I need to gather them somewhere. So let's have a party. Let's have it in the cafeteria of my workplace. And well, unfortunately, that only can carry like 70, 60 people. But he invites 70 of his friends, and that's more than enough for a party, I would say. Yeah. And we're really happy for those kind of people, because I don't have 70 scene friends. So the only way for me to go to these parties is to know people like David Hedning or people like Red Crab, for instance, who organized the Fjelldata meeting. Yeah. And then you have the Edison, and you had the LCP parties.
LCP closed as well, didn't it? It stopped being organized.
Frantic told me, now you take over. Because, LCP is in the same town as Gubbdata. So.
And Datastorm as well?
Yeah, Datastorm was bigger, though.
Yeah. But Datastorm, it ran until they actually tore the building down. So it was kind of a non-authorized club that they were having a party in. So and they were building all these fancy new apartments around the place, looking down. I mean, they were like 10 stories high. So that became more and more crammed into a corner until someone said, "That's ugly. Let's remove it." And so they tore down the place, and they haven't really come back after that, really.
I heard some rumors, though, but
yeah.
I didn't say anything about it.
No. And as Soda Design says, in the late 80s, we actually had a lot of parties in schools. I went to a couple of those. One of the largest one was in Eskilstuna, I think, ECES party in 1991. And all the Swedish elite was there. I mean, that was kind of 1,000 people crammed into classrooms in a large public school. And it was really nice. I mean, it was strange because we're living in this little bubble, and then suddenly you meet a crowd of thousands of people which you have read about or seen their demos, but you've never met them, and you realize that you're extremely shy. It's like, who's that guy? Ooh. and then you don't talk to him. That guy. Ooh. And then you'd never talk to him. So it's like, but then again, being the ape I am, quite a lot of people approach me, thank God. So at least someone got to talk. I got to talk with some people because they recognized me or something like that. So
after a couple of parties, you get used to that and just, go talk to the people. At least I hope so. But this, I stopped caring about that. I just go, hey, I seen you. I know you from. How you doing?
Yeah, but I mean, I was in the scene. I started in the scene when I was like 10.
Yeah, it's okay. So teenagers, it's they can be
and
more shy.
Yeah, and then I came into North Star and Fairlight, and those guys are were at least at that
Legends.
time. No, not legends, because they were kind of like 3-4 years older than I am.
Ah, so just
Which
older.
Yeah, so they had went through puberty and stuff like that. So they were into like drinking beer.
Those are the cool kids. They went through puberty already.
Exactly, and I was like 14, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Ah, okay, yeah. Well, that's not for me. Oh, Fossil, way!
Yeah, I skipped because I think that was taking a bit too long. We're watching releases from Fjall-Data. That one that we just played was The Night It Snowed by Genesis Project, and this one is Limbo Living by Fossil.
Yeah, the cool thing of Fjall-Data is that we were like cozy 30 people in a room, but we had such awesome releases in there. And it wasn't because the people were there actually, so it was releases for the people actually being at that party. But back to parties back in the old days, like I was 14, I didn't really know how to behave or how to talk to people. But then again, you watch these cool guys and you realize, yeah, okay, that's one way of socializing, and then you kind of get into the mood of being at parties.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So I think that's also one of the reasons why there's so much drinking on scene parties. Also, it helps socialize a bit more. I don't know if it's the same in Sweden or not. Did I ever been to any party in Sweden? I don't think I have actually.
Don't ask me. No, but people drinking. Some people need it and some people don't. I mean, it's just a way of getting comfortable with yourself, I would say. I don't need it. I mean, some people think I never drink alcohol. I do sometimes, but I don't need it at parties.
Yeah, you don't need it to socialize. It's just it helps release the inhibitions, but you don't have to drink it to socialize. Obviously, people have been socializing for years, and it's like, wait, beer has been invented for a very long time. So maybe there's something to it there.
Yeah, that's.
Anyways, anything you want to say about this demo in particular?
This demo, Fjall-Data, I remember it because I was there, but I don't remember it good enough to say what it is. But I'm always impressed with people doing stuff like this because I realize how much effort it is. It's just a rotating text, but then again, it's a rotating text with colors and shading, and you need some clever way of showing it on this computer. So hats off to everyone who makes the effort of making demos, because I'm always impressed with the amount of effort, the massive amount of effort that goes into any C64 demo today.
Fossil has style also. They are really,
yeah, absolutely. And now we're into Boost Design land, right?
Yeah, Remains that got first place at Fjall-Data.
And it pisses me off that they call it Remains, because Remains is like, well, the leftovers that we kind of don't want to use for anywhere else. But then you realize, okay, snow, there's quite a lot of dots in there, and I mean, the scrollers in here are just awesome because of the way they're layering the graphics, and it uses every trick in the book from the VIC-2 chip that you have, because of something that people don't really realize is how sprites are actually placed in between the characters if you want them to. So you can have sprites in front of characters and behind the characters at the same time. So it's not here, but it's the scrollers that come later, I guess.
Lowat is asking about VIC-20 demos released at Fjall-Data. I'm looking at the results, and there was only one in 2019 by Proxima.
Ooh.
Nothing in 2020, at least not on Puet. Maybe the results are not complete.
Okay.
No. And honestly, I don't remember it. But Vic 2020, I haven't played with it, but it lacks quite a lot of the goodies that we have for.
Do you guys check demo scenes from other platforms besides Commodore 64?
The PC scene, actually, I watch quite a lot of the 4K demos, etc. I mean, the PC scene is a very sorrow state. I mean, because of you can do anything, people just don't have the time. If you want to do anything, then you go do a AAA game or work for a games company or something.
Yeah, if you really want to do like a big demo, it takes a lot of work and it's a large investment. And
yeah, it's not worth it. You can just do it in Maya and render it to a video file or whatever.
But that would be cheating. That would be for the wild compo, not for a real-time demo.
Yeah, but it's so much easier. I mean, I think there was a break when computers got fast enough to actually replay full screen video. Then the demo scene kind of died a little.
I have to contest that, because that was around the 90s, and it seemed to be actually a point where the PC demo scene kind of flourished in terms of going more for concept of the demo and like a concept idea behind it, and not just showing effects for the sake of effects. So it became a lot more interesting to people outside the coder porn niche, you know? But at the same time, you lost a lot of those high-tech value. There's still a lot of demos that push the tech, but it's so hard to measure these days with graphics cards being so powerful and that stuff. That's really hard for people to have a measure of how the amount of work that actually goes into that to have that really good rendering.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, most of the tricks you see in 4K demos end up in shader toy sooner or later, so you can read the source code there more or less. But it's two triangles, and the rest is just fragment shaders.
There are still a lot of people who try to mix both doing 3D geometry with the ray marching stuff that you do. There are even some techniques that you can use both. To pass on the, I believe it's the depth buffer from one to the other, so you can have like things influencing each other, and you can have like some sort of overlay or background to do one thing, and that's interesting. But it's more complicated to set up, and just the whole rendering pipeline becomes an issue.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier to just use Unity or Unreal Engine, and you have the pipeline there, and you can just focus on the creative part, and then you get a lot of shit because you're using someone else's engine instead of doing your own stuff, which you guys in 64 are really lucky. You don't have anyone bitching that you're using someone else's tracker to do music and stuff like that.
No, not really. Oh.
Is there any sort of demo maker for C64? Because on Amiga there was old school demo maker.
I made one actually.
You made one?
Yeah. So you could write your own scroll text, and you could choose the colors, and you can choose the heading, and that was used in like 100 Polish like free software collections or something.
Nice.
It really to be credited for a demo maker. But that was like 1987 or something, so it was quite long ago.
Really cool.
If you take a look at this scene, for instance, it looks very easy. It's just a picture, and then on top of that, some 3D letters.
Yeah, anyone can do 3D.
But it's not easy.
Yeah.
So Jack Gasser, I think he's the one doing this. It's just marvelous.
Do you guys check the Spectrum scene? Because I used to have a Spectrum as a kid, so I follow it a lot more than I follow the other scenes. So I always try to compare the Spectrum and the C64 scene.
Yeah, I have trouble with the Spectrum scene, and that is because the Russian clones. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I used to have a Spectrum 16 kilobytes of memory. I mean, the one of the original ones, I would say.
Ah, okay.
But there are so many different versions of that now, and some of them has kind of like a lot of memory.
Well, the most standard is the 128K. That's the most standard Spectrum, and then there are some clones in Russia or from Russia that they have slightly different way of handling things in terms of memory and registers. I'm not an expert in it, but they're not that different. They have the same restrictions. They just allow us to do multicolor stuff a lot easier, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
But they also complain of like West people's spectrums that they're different to do stuff in.
No, that's true. Jackasser, you're pissing me off right now.
I
You just
coded
said
that scroller while drunk
that's
at
an
David
easy
Jacobi's
scroll
summer
out.
before.
I did it with my left hand and my eyes closed, and I hate you. No, I love you. Sorry.
Isn't the 48K Specky the original standard? It was one that was the most popular, but there were a few spectrums before that. Not called officially Sinclair Spectrum, I think. I think it was the Timex, and there were other variants of that. But the 48K was the one that was like really massively known or famous or being in a lot of households. But it only had like the beeper.
Yeah, but you had these strange discs, those zip drives or something, like the small spinning drive that it was actually a circular tape, I guess. So
or the Spectrum, the 48K that I had was with a tape recorder.
It was a normal tape. They had some kind of discs, or I think it was a circular tape in kind of a cassette or something.
There was some older version, I think.
Yeah.
Was it called wafer or something?
I don't know. They were kind of very unreliable, but yeah, microdrives it was.
Yeah, because I had a British wafer. You load it with wafers. They call it wafers, I think, for the C64.
Yeah.
Okay, Gazman is saying that the rubber key 16K for 8K was the original Spectrum. Before that was ZX80 and ZX81. So maybe you had a ZX80 or ZX81 or the 16K.
I had a CX81. My brother, 6 years older than I, actually soldered it himself. So he bought it in electronics and then had to solder the PCB himself.
Ah, the good old days when you had to solder your own computer.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's this demo? I haven't seen it.
This is a Rastabar 2006 AD. It's a C64 one-file demo.
Nice graphics, really.
And I have no clue which party it was in, but I will look it up.
Anyone had a look at ABC80? Yes, absolutely. We had an ABC80 and we played Glip, G-L-I-P-P, which was a Pac-Man clone. And there was some text adventures I played as well. But then again, it was kind of they had this sound chip in it. So I played around with just doing out 37 and comma, and then you can just tell it what sound effect it was supposed to be playing.
But you never did a demo for it, right?
No, I never did a demo for ABC80, but Genesis Project have done an ABC80 demo, right?
Yes. Shadow, of course. He codes anything that beeps.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
It's actually really difficult to get hold of an ABC80 today that's in working condition. So they belong in a museum, I would say.
This demo that we're watching now is stacked by Padua, and it won the BCC party in, I believe it's Germany.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Those kinds of transitions are really nice. I mean, they are chart-based, of course, to be able to cope with them, but they look really nice. So, raistlin, just a question for you. You haven't said much. Are you like analyzing demos to understand how they were coded? Because I guess you're kind of good at coding yourself. So you have a coder's mind when you watch demos, right?
Yeah, I do sometimes. I'm better at the sort of code where you're blitting things to char sets or to the bitmap. A lot of the Vic tricks I've either forgotten or I just don't know them. But I tend to stick to the blidding stuff because then I can program in C++, generate all the animation data that you were talking about, and go that way, rather than trying to find new tricks of the hardware, which I leave to the Jackass, HCL.
Yeah. But watching a demo like this, it's like, okay, it starts my brain and says like, okay, they have chars diagonally, and then they change the char set, and then, okay, that's right. And then you have... So somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm always analyzing C64 demos just to know. If I see something that I don't understand, then it's just, I get annoyed.
You get
Is
an
that
extra point when
destroying
voting.
Is that destroying your ability to enjoy it fully?
No, I do it all the
Well,
time.
always
Other
analyze-
areas as well, because I'm singing, for instance. So whenever I hear choir singing, it's like, okay, that voice and those voices, and then I analyze it again. How is that done, etc. So that's just my mind. It's just weird. But I think every time I see something, I try to understand it. And if I don't understand it, either I get annoyed or I get enough interest in it, so I read on, or I just
Try to understand it, yeah.
Yeah, or ask someone, like, please tell me, I want to understand how this is done, so educate me or something. And whenever you see repeated graphics on the C64, you know that it's just a char set, and you just place the char set in a pattern. So this is nice.
It's just dots.
Of course, it's just no, it's metaballs. It's two-dimensional metaball.
It's only pixels on screen.
Oh. But one thing I don't like, but that's just me, is things that don't go full frame rate. So parts like this, where you have the feeling of updates of like 15 frames per second or something, it just shivers in my spine. But
That seems
I'm
fluid, though. It didn't seem a low frame rate to me.
No, it was probably okay, but that's a problem with watching demos on a modern computer, because you have a 60 Hz screen and all the demos on the C64.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like 50 Hz. So now actually I have a 50 Hz screen on my laptop, and I'm really glad for it. So there are laptops so that you actually can switch to 50 Hz for the main graphics. For the
Oh, that's really useful.
Do you still want to see the final demo you make on a real hardware before you release it, Fex?
Yeah, every time I don't,
Of course.
I
Of
regret
course.
it.
I don't know. I
No,
know
but-
it.
Because I did this Belong 4K demo at Datastorm, and I didn't check it on real hardware, and it actually, one of the parts didn't work. It didn't crash, but it only showed a black screen. So kind of 4 seconds of that demo was lost because I didn't check it on real hardware. But I used to send stuff to Human Code Machine, for instance. So I send the parts I want to know more about, I sent to him and said, can you check this and just record the audio or watch it and make sure that it's okay. And he's really good at finding bugs that I don't care about, like those. If you have a new 64 and you write to the same color that is shown on the screen right now, then you get on the new 64 you get a light gray dot. So whenever you write to the screen registers and just set black, and it's already black, but at that instance you will get a light gray dot. And those kinds of bugs that I don't.
That only
care
happens
about.
on the new C64s? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it changed slightly the timing of the output of graphics. And so that's one thing. And the other thing on new C64s, you have a delay of 1 clock cycle difference between when the timer triggers from the timer chips. And when doing demos like Performer demos, where we aim quite high for high standard, I'm happy when it works in my emulator. And then I think, oh, job done. Yes,
If it works on my emulator, it should work everywhere. Except the emulators
Exactly.
are not accurate.
No,
It's
and
weird
then
that after so many years, we still haven't had, perfect emulators for the C64. It's not that hard of a machine to emulate, is it?
Yes, it is.
I mean, obviously, you're emulating stuff, so there's always issues with it. But I mean, compared to other machines out there, it should be easier to get it, on point, considering how long it is that the machine has been around and people know all these quirks and registers and stuff.
Yeah. No, there's always work to be done to make it compatible with at least the bunch of unmodified original C64s. I don't really care about the new ones, like the clones or the enhanced versions or the any kind of those I just ignore. But it should work on the original ones. And then the emulators have to change. So many times when I've done new Soundworks, the emulators are just plain wrong, and then they improve after the demo. So it's getting better, absolutely. FPGA should make it easier to have the right clock for instructions. Well, no, not really, because an FPGA is programmed just as a emulator is, and well. It's not easy to make an emulator in software, and you have just the same difficulties in an FPGA. It's just more difficult to verify it. So I would say an FPGA doesn't help really. Oh, twisters in 10 frames per second.
Animation, clearly an animation.
Oh, I don't like those like that. Sorry, I don't know who I'm going to apologize to, but this is not my cup of tea. Which demo is it?
Mortsuita by RBBS.
Okay.
RBBS and Resource. For
Okay.
the Revision Online 2020. For the old school 4K intro combo. So it's a 4K. At least that.
But isn't this a new school effect, actually? When you
Should it be banned?
Because the old school demos would use big tricks for the twister, and yeah. I don't know.
Anyways, let's go to Atlantis Flight. It was part of the... I think got 4th place on the old school demo compo at Revision. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Fight? Is it the Fight demo?
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, Revision. Well, they have really good art direction in Atlantis, so...
So Mahoney, I'm just wondering, who do you think is the best coder on the 64 at the moment? It's like
The best coder on C64. I would say that the man that has impressed me the most through the years, this is strange, but it's actually HCL of Boost Design. So David, yes, absolutely. Because he makes such an effort in taking that extra little step to make it not only break the rules, but actually expand my universe. So whenever you think, oh, he's just twisting those raster bars, and then suddenly he starts rotating them. Just and it's really impressive that he makes. He takes that extra step to.
Did you ever figure that one out? How he does that? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
no idea.
it's just a matter of animation in the difficult parts, and then char sets, and I mean, I would call it color cycling, but in the other parts. So yes, I figured it out when he was doing it, and kind of what Boost Design does right is that whenever they kind of tickle your imagination that, oh, maybe they are doing this soonish. And then they wait a little, and they wait a little, and then they just do it
some other way.
Yeah, and I think that's just a marvelous way of setting your expectations and then actually exceeding the expectations that they set in their demos.
That's a bit of an old trick on the demo scene, though. Like showing a traditional effect, but done in a new way that allows you to do something much fancier. So I've seen that a lot in quite a few demos throughout the years, and it's always always a good winner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't do that because whenever I'm happy with the effect, I just bash it's on the screen and I'm done. So I try to not waste people's time, which means that I skip the introduction and the foreplay and I go directly to the intercourse, which is really bad.
You need to do more build up, more.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't do that. So it's really bad for getting people to like your demos, but some people like it my way. But that's good with performers demos, because then someone else can do the build-up and do the introductions and the build-up, and then
I'll focus on the sex. You guys do the build-up and all the foreplay and all that
No, I
stuff.
focused on the greetings part, and that's where I nailed them.
Anyways, what you're watching right now is Dotty Vale by Loonies. It's a 128-byte intro. It was released at Outline Online.
How the hell are they doing this char set in just 128 bytes?
With sound.
Ooh. I need to switch on my sound so I hear it. I need to click something.
It's the power of size coding. Have you guys ever went into size coding, like tiny intro stuff?
Yeah, I did this 4K demo. It's not tiny stuff, but then again, I tried to cram like 8 or 9 effects into a 4K demo. So I try to aim for like 200, 300 bytes per effect and then stack them together in a demo.
It's not a very famous category on the C64 though, is it?
No, not at all. So I don't know, CSDB. I just need to have a look.
I think the most famous tiny intro that I know for C64 is from LFT when he did release that revision. That's pretty much the only small-sized intro that I remember from the C64. Everything else seems more like one file kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I guess has its merits, but it's not as size limited as the rest. This one they're watching now is a one-file demo, talking about that. It's called Unlayerability by Atlantis. Can someone explain what's up with this reading, not unable to read scroller stuff? It was like a special compo or something?
Yes, it was a joke on the Mibri Twitch stream. He has a C64 demo stream. For a while, I think it was every Tuesday he had it. Or during the Corona isolation. And I came up with the stupid idea of making a compo with the most unreadable scroller. And,
of course, that made sense.
Yeah,
no, I like it.
It was just a joke, and then I said, okay, let's do it. So I started it on CSDB, and people jumped in and joined it. It was fun. I know raistlin made one too. I don't know if it's in the list today, but you can check out the compo.
It didn't have a video on YouTube, that's why it's not in.
Okay, right.
Because you guys were posting on the Facebook chat, and I checked it, but there was no video of it. I tried searching for it, so shame on you, raistlin. You should do videos of your demos so people can easily access them in 60 Hz and see everything wrong.
No, but can't you let other people do capture of your demos?
The problem with C64 captures is that everyone is doing it their way, and most of them are doing crappy emulator captures with jerky movements and bad sound and wrong SID chip and stuff like that. So it's really hard to find a good capture from real hardware on YouTube.
They're talking about 4K demos on the C64. There are a couple of hundreds of them, like 200 or something. And I watch, the artifacts by Plush is really good. And the Krawall 4K demos, and Cradle has done some really good 4K demos as well. But actually, I have the highest ranked 4K demo on CSDB. I didn't know that.
Respect.
So, the one I did at Datastorm a couple of years ago actually has been voted the highest. But then again, it's a very small category, and it's people don't care about 4K demos on C64. We have enough limitations already, so why create another one? It's we don't need it. We are so limited anyway, so
I can understand that. Moving on the list of demos, we have Korolna Nethouse by Onslaught.
Rio is the future, guys. Trap. No, it's not the future. It's cheating.
What is an REU? Because I heard about it, but I don't really know what it is because I'm not a 64 person. So who wants to explain to me what it is?
No, the 500 kilobyte extra memory and basic DMA engine for the C64. And since it can DMA to the big editors, you can actually make new effects that you couldn't do.
So it's like an expansion.
It's an expansion, but then again, it was available quite early in the C64 days. So it is kind of, yes, it's vintage hardware, and it was used back then.
How hard is it to get it nowadays? Like if I had a Commodore 64, could I easily get an REU for it?
No.
Yeah, no, not a real one, but you can always emulate it with a C64 Ultimate. One of them.
1541 Ultimate cartridge. Everyone has that. The new standard for loading stuff on the C64 is.
Okay.
It's not new, but yeah, most guys have one in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's true. And someone said, didn't you say earlier CSDB voting doesn't matter, Mahoney? Yes, of course I've done. CSDB voting is kind of broken, but then again, it serves a purpose, not for me, but for some people. But of course, please let me be a little happy that someone likes my demos, right? Oh.
So, Raistlin, the same question to you then. Who is the best coder? I really want to know what you think.
I agree that HCL is really good. Also like Axis of Oxyron. It's done some pretty amazing stuff, and not just on the 64, but Amiga and other platforms as well.
But Axis, he did this dancing disco guy with wire graphics and spinning colors, right? It's wild and crazy. I love it.
That is.
Okay, let's move on to the next demo, which is 5 Shades of Grey by Lethargy. This was on Coop Data, right?
Yep.
Yeah, as far as I know, that's another one of those 15 frames per second demos. Am I right?
Lethargy have been very active this year. I think it released like 3 demos, and all of them were pretty decent. I didn't know the group. I only know them when I was watching actually Coop Data. That was the first time I heard about the group, and they impressed me in a positive way.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they made a great write-up about this demo online. Every part explained in detail. And I think a lot of the info about what was the main idea or inspiration behind the demo was lost when we watched it because we didn't know. The idea is that they are making a nostalgia trip back to when the Eastern states had black and white televisions and sat with their C64s on Russian black and white.
But then you could have more than 5 shades of gray, right? You could have 8, because if you just remove the chroma, then you.
But that's the main idea, and they made some great write-up that I read later. So people said it should have ended up as number 2 or 3, perhaps even winning.
If the story was known before. But if you have a story to tell, then you should tell it in the demo.
Yes.
Not in a note, not in a text, or not on the internet. The internet isn't good enough for that.
Exactly.
They do say that context is important to understand art, but in this case you have a very easy way to show the context, which is just to write it on the damn screen in the beginning of the demo or something. So missed opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this is like voxel kind of stuff.
I hope they do the calculations, because if it's an animation, it's a really bad one. So but that's a problem when you actually do something for real on the C64. It looks like this, and it's
doesn't look as good as animation, so might as well be doing animation.
Yeah, exactly. It's on the verge of being much better as an animation.
Need to put some text on the corner saying real time.
Blinking.
Yeah, so people give you extra points.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm sure some idiot will do that like as a fake thing, like doing an animation and then the blinking thing saying that it's real time even though it's fake.
Yeah, perhaps. But then people would know that all directly, and you would get an ultimate bashing online for doing that. That won't work. I mean, the C64 is a very open platform because anyone can look into your code and see what you actually did.
Do you guys really debug each other's code that much?
I used to do it in the late 80s because that was the only way of getting to learn how to do demos. Because I
And now you
didn't
just
have that-
ask the author how he did it instead of bothering
Yeah,
to
exactly.
debug.
It's
Yeah.
more like, well, please tell me. Save me the 30 minutes of reverse engineering your code and then just tell me instead.
Just something that we on the PC scene can't really do that. I mean, we can. It's just a lot harder to debug stuff and figure out what's really happening under the hood.
But isn't there a lot of tools to kind of reverse engineer like Unity stuff? Or
There are some stuff that you can use, but if you want to obfuscate stuff, it's also easier to do that.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, if you're debugging a whole engine, there are a lot of parts that you have to go, so you need to know what you're looking for and go to the right place to access that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is some knowledge. I'm just saying that it's like another can of worms that you need to open, learning how to debug this advanced kind of stuff. On C64, it's kind of easier because you're always looking at machine code. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's kind of easier to know what's happening.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, on the PC side, you obfuscate games with running them in a virtual machine and having your own, whatever. So the cracking, I'm impressed
Not even
with
that,
the
just packing stuff, and that data gets automatically packed into things and stuff like that, and you need to figure out the formats and all that stuff to extract the correct things. Or sometimes just finding the fucking shader is hard to do, and then there can be like so many shaders used in different ways that you don't really know which one you're looking for, and so it's hard to see the whole picture when you're looking at the detail. It's a lot easier if you just look at the pipeline as they are working instead of actually looking at the whole mess of the binary that is in the end.
Yeah, that's true. So, Raistlin, how come they call you the Invisible Man in the chat?
Because one of the cracking groups on the 64 XS, they kept putting in sort of invincibility trainers on the game, but they couldn't spell. They kept spelling it invisibility. So I kept calling them out on it, saying that the crack was broken. I could still see myself.
Oh,
Somebody cracked a game and actually put in the invisibility trainer.
yeah.
Room trainer.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, some of the reasons why I got interested in coding demos was actually trainers for games, because quite a lot of games in the 80s, you could just reset your C64, type some commands in like poke, blah, 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 comma, blah, blah, and then seize 4096, and the game would run again with your modifications.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of okay. There's something weird going on here, and that kind of started my brain to realize I am changing values, code. No, what am I changing? And then you started like trying to understand what you were doing changes around that, and take a look at the values above and below, and see what changes you actually did to cheat in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really good for having such an open platform as a C64, where you could try to do as much damage as you want to a binary, and if something goes wrong, you just turn it off and turn it on again, and it's brand new factory reset. People don't really dare to do that with the hardware they have today, because if you do something stupid with a laptop, you kind of need to send it to repair. So
you can always back up your stuff before you do any major changes.
Yeah, that's true. And this is an awesome twister. Of course, they've stolen the idea from Knut, but it's still a nice twister. So with nice graphics and
nice graphics as well.
Package, and everything is great. And it's not side border, but at least top and bottom border as well. So it's really
I think it's just this effect, is it, or is it something more?
Oh, this is it.
No, it's just the one screen.
Because it says 21 minutes on the thing. I'm like, is it 21 minutes of the same scroller? Okay, they really wrote a lot. Okay, next demo then.
Yeah, you can take the next thing.
Oh,
The
no.
Residence by Atlantis. When I saw this, I was like, clue what's this, but I guess if you're a Residents fan, you know the music group, it kinda is more interesting. And it's also, I guess, technically it must also have a lot of interesting tricks.
I remember this. Yeah, I've seen this.
I remember it as trippy. I didn't have the background to it.
Yeah, okay, now I remember it. This is really strange.
Yeah.
It starts your mind thinking and then saying, are they joking or are they not? And then you realize they're not joking, or are they? And then suddenly you just give up. It's like, okay.
God
Oh.
and the devil. Okay.
Yeah, but you try to understand the message
Yeah,
somewhere.
of course, yeah. The trippy message.
A trippy message, which is far beyond my understanding. Maybe I'm not too. I need to go into cognitive research to see what looking at these images do to my brain.
Talking about trainers, Raistlin, didn't you start your whole scene career by doing pokes and peeks for magazines in UK?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, it was. We sort of hacked one game. We got a name in a magazine, and that got us hooked. You know, just seeing a name in a magazine that we were addicted to. You know.
So you were looking for a way of cheating, and then you wrote to a magazine and said, "Can you publish this?" And
Yeah.
they kind of did.
And then they started sending new stuff. You know, they started sending games. I was writing for one magazine. There were two of us writing books for the magazine, and the magazine was actually published by a computer shop. So they sold computer games. And they said to me, you know, we get the games, why don't we just copy them for you? We'll post them out to you, and you write the trainers.
Ooh.
At one point, I was getting every single game that was released on 64, but I never had time to play them because I was just hacking into them and writing cheats.
Did they pay you for doing all the trainers at least?
No, they just gave me the games, but
The ones that you didn't have time to play?
I did it for about 6 months, and I went down to the shop and we talked them into giving us a 1541, the disk drive.
Yeah.
I think in the UK it was more expensive than the Commodore 64. It's like 400 pounds, about 500, 600 euros. So at 15 years old, you know, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah, that was a good deal at 15 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, no, from there just into.
But it's like pouring water on a geese, right? Sending games to you that you don't want to play. You just want to hack them.
Yeah.
And you weren't part of any cracking group or anything, so you didn't like send them to someone else.
I was at first. We did crack like 2 or 3 games.
Okay.
And I wasn't very good at it, so I got into making demos instead.
Because, I mean, quite a lot of sceners have been part of these magazines as well. I know, like, Bacchus of Fairlight used to write in those magazines. And hedning is also writing in those magazines right now, actually.
Right now, yeah.
Next demo is Diagonality by Genesis Project.
The winner of Gubbgata. And it's a shadow coding, and we have Facet doing the graphics, and Stinson with the music here.
I remember the graphics from Facet were really good on this one.
Yeah, he's one of the guys that came to the C64. We talked about graphicians before. He came to the C64 scene because of all the activity there. He wanted that. He didn't care much about the limitations. He just wanted the action.
Wasn't he originally Amiga scener?
Amiga. Yeah, Amiga. Yeah, he's still on Amiga, of course. But he loves the action in the C64 scene.
I think
And
the
told me
limitations.
on X that he wanted to join Genesis Project to make demos with Stinson, I think, because he loved his music. And yeah, here we are.
Oh, that's a great reason.
Yeah.
I love these color bars. They're really nice colors.
Yeah, nice effect. It's simple, but it looks really good.
Yeah, it's simple, but it's
Stylish.
designy. Yeah,
Yeah.
stylish. And this reminds me of the Graham Crystal's castle. It used to draw the 3D map almost like this, but from the other diagonal. And they're greeting Mahoney. Whoa!
Right.
Actually, not many people greet Mahoney because I'm not a group. I'm just a person. So
Don't you get performers greetings nowadays?
yeah, but that's
Ah,
not
it
for
doesn't
me.
count. It's not just me. You need to create a one-person group to make sure that it's really for you that they are greeting.
No, not really.
Maybe you can call it Mahoney.
I asked Mahoney to join Genesis, and he said, "Can't Genesis join Mahoney instead?"
Yeah, I think I've been asked of every single large C64 group to join them, and it's kind of like my standard answer is no, but you can join Mahoney instead. If you want. So no, I don't need groups. Most of the time, I wouldn't be good in a group with those kind of project leaders that tell you need to do this and it needs to be done in a week and we're releasing, etc. Because that's not just my way of doing things. So in performers, we kind of have like, yeah, we have 2 years to go, so let's start now. And then we start making parts like separate. And then when it's more or less half a year left until X, then we start collecting, scrap the pieces and see how they fit together and then pick a demo out of it. It fits me much better because then I can do the coding when it fits me. And it might be just 1 year of not doing anything, and then suddenly you get inspired and then you do everything in just a week.
That's usually the thing that doing projects alone versus doing projects in group. You want to commit to the group because they can help you do stuff that you will never do, but then you will have to manage expectations. So you don't have to do stuff immediately when you don't feel like doing it, and same way you can't demand that of other people. So when you're doing it alone, it's a lot faster to just get stuff done, but at the same time you always lack that, like, I don't have proper graphics for this that you have to deal with.
Yeah, so sometimes when I go to meetings, a week before I realize, well, I could release a demo, but I'm lacking graphics and sound. So then I call my friends and say, I don't suppose you have some audio I can just, use in a demo. And well, if you have the right friends, it works. So I've done a couple of those demos for Datastorm and Group Data. But it's not ideal, of course.
So what we're watching right now is Expand REU Porn by Bonsai. So we were talking about the REU. Here's a good example demo. It won the Group Data Combined Demo Intro Combo.
And then you're always thinking, right, could I do that on a real C64 without memory? And of course, this we could do. That's nothing special. But then again, this would be
trickier,
a little too difficult. Yeah. Oh.
All is possible. Just needs a little twitch here and there.
Yeah, but I would give up on this. I'm just giving up. I'm not trying to do this on a real unexpanded C64. Yeah, it's just animation. I know it's just an animation. But,
you can do animation on a non-expanded C64 as well, so it's easy.
Absolutely. Just stream from 170 kilobytes of disk drive. It's no problem.
And fast too.
So streaming into sprites. Yeah, of course you can do that. Linear addressing. Yes, of course you can do that.
Trivial. Twister, you can do that on a C64, an expanded one.
Absolutely. No, but the problem here is, am I supposed to be impressed because it's a REU that does something that's almost the same as done without a REU? I know it's a completely different piece of cake because you approach it in two different ways, but I'm not that into knowing
You should be
limitations.
impressed that someone bothered to do an REO demo. That's what you should be impressed
of course.
about.
One of the 5 or 10 Ryu demos there out there.
I had a compo about it some years ago.
Huh?
How many entries were there?
I'll check right now.
Yeah, I'm probably wrong. There's probably hundreds of Ryu demos, but
I mean, you guys said that it was common that C64s had them, so why don't people use them more for code?
because it's cheating, right?
It's cheating.
4 entries.
4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's the one? It was in 2015.
Yeah, it's religion. Yeah,
What about games? Do games use REU a lot, like the extra memory and stuff?
Yes, some cracks use them to push the whole game into fast loading, of course.
you can preload the game into the Ryu, and then it's easier to.
But I don't think there are any originals that uses it.
No,
No.
Interesting fact.
religion expansion unit. No, not really.
It
I thought religion.
It expands your religion belief on the Commodore 64.
Yeah, religion is mostly used to make sure that no one else has any other religion that's the one and only.
Mr. Sid saying there are no REU games. Okay.
Then I say make one.
Yeah.
World first.
Yeah.
In 2020, finally an REU game.
If you need a lot of memory, you use the Easy Flash for making games. I know Jackass is doing it right now.
Yeah, not really. Actually makes his own cartridge.
Yeah,
that is easy compatible,
yeah,
but
yeah, it's compatible. Cheaper, but compatible. 100.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ooh, zooming.
I guess only REU makes it possible.
Yeah, that kind of zooming at least. Oh.
And dots. Only REU makes possible to have dots on screen. Why do you need disk if you have extra memory? This doesn't
why
make
do
any
you-
sense.
You don't need an Amiga either.
Yeah, but then again, the Ryu is, I mean, it's not pre-filled with 500 kilobytes of data. You still need to have data from the disk drive, and then you do calculations that you put in the Ryu. So Easy Flash is the other way around. Then you can have like 16 megabytes of data just instantly accessible. But Ryu is just a RAM and not a flash drive.
Okay.
Easy Flash is standard 1 megabyte.
Yeah, but there are larger ones as well.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think is the release rate of C64 releases under COVID? Because I heard Frankie talking a little bit about how the demo scene was progressing with COVID, and that he thought the PC scene was like not releasing as much, and platforms like the C64 still managed to release a lot of stuff. So do you guys agree, or do you think this has been a slower year because of COVID in terms of demo scene releases?
I actually check the statistics from time to time, and it looks like an ordinary year after.
And then after X year, you mean?
Well, we have had about, if you check, there is a statistic page on CSDB where you can scroll down and see the amount of releases for every year. And last year there was 2,100, and this year we're up to 2,200.
No, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good, and it's the same number for 2018. But this year we also had a Petsky compo with 300 entries.
That kind of makes up for it.
Yeah, but on the other hand, we have a double the amount of releases since the beginning of.
Yeah, but what for me personally, what's lacking is going to parties. I mean, if I don't go to X, I don't make a demo for X. If I don't go to Gubdata, I don't make a Gubdata demo.
What about online streaming? You guys not up for that? Gubdata was pretty much... Well, Gubdata, where you were there physically, a smaller number of people, but
Yeah, I was there and Henning was there, of course, and just 10 other people, more or less.
And it didn't feel the same to you guys? It felt worse? Because for me, Inertia, it's demo party organized in Portugal, for those who don't know, we had a lot more viewers than we usually have. So for Inertia, it was actually good. And for other parties, like for Flash Party in Argentina, it had a lot more entries than it usually had. So for some parties, it actually makes sense. For others, that are very established in physical terms, it seemed to have a lot less people being active.
We had the same amount of releases this year as last year, around 100,
Okay.
which is really good. I'm very thankful for everyone that sends in stuff, but it's the same amount. And I tried to, you saw the stream probably. I tried to make demo shows and interviews and stuff happening all the time.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool live stream. I usually don't see Goob Data, and I was following it this year, and I enjoyed it. So good job.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was nice, but it was kind of strange to be there in person, but still having Hedning doing the stream in another room.
Yeah.
So we were kind of watching the stream just in the room right next to them.
Yeah, but then you joined in.
Yeah, I remember a few people being drunk and joining in and just doing random stuff behind Ednick while he was trying to organize. I remember that.
Yeah. We had a great time. But then again, another twister. Ooh. This part, is it a Ryu twister or is it a real one? Which demo is this?
This is the same.
Yeah, it looks similar to the one from, was it Sensor? What was the other group? Boost Design? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was good.
No, but they did the Boost Design with the nice lady on it. That was after this one, right?
It was the same party.
Was it the same? Yeah, it was. I think.
Yeah.
They're both Goob Data, right?
Yeah.
This was
And the
just
first
different compo because it used the RU.
Yeah,
and-
but Boost did it without the Ryu, and this is with the Ryu.
And the first one was made the year before on Good Data 2, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was released there.
No, this one is really smooth, but then again, you have unlimited memory, so it's cheating.
Unlimited.
Cheating.
Oh,
Oh, you're running the demo on an older emulator.
Oh,
yeah, it's
The
fun when
end.
they actually detect an emulator in the demo.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna skip to the next demo. And one question that I want to ask you guys, how much do you follow the demo scene outside Europe? Do you check like the releases from Australia? Do you check releases from South America?
For the C64, it's the same, I think. Everyone watches everything. That's what I think.
So have you seen this one? What are your thoughts about this one? And none of you seen this one. I can see it in your eyes that you're all seeing this for the first time.
I'm trying to find the name of it. Quarantine Out, right?
Yeah.
No, I
You
haven't
write
seen
it with a C on at least on Poet instead of a Q.
Yeah. I found myself in the middle of that desolate landscape of death. It reminds me of those Fairlight zombie demos. No, but they did some of these.
Yeah, now I remember it, yeah.
Hollow Man and Linus did some of those.
We do have Scene of the Living Dead queued up next, so that's not Firelight, but close enough.
Yeah, I saw this summer, I think, yeah.
I'm a big fan of Hollow Man and Putterman. They did a lot of very nice Fairlight demos that had like concepts behind them, not just coder stuff. I really enjoyed those
exactly.
demos.
They
They
did
made
some of
me
those
pay a lot more attention to C64 stuff because I was always a bit biased. There was always like big scrollers, some coder porn stuff that I don't really understand because I never had a C64. And those guys really made some interesting stuff conceptually that made me start paying more attention to C64. So I kind of miss their demos. They haven't done many lately.
Yeah, I like them because they show the darker side of the human brain
yeah,
or human mind.
psyche.
Yeah, and it kind of tickles at least some part of me.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a little bit of that in this demo as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this anxiety and the feeling of pushing.
So this won the old school demo compo at Flash Party 2020, that party in Argentina that I was talking about, and it was made by Pungas de Fila Martelli, which is a completely Argentinian group, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they had C64s in Argentina.
Oh, they had a specific one, the Dream.
Oh.
It has a weird mix between NTSC and PAL mixed up. I have one actually in my collection, but it's strange.
Okay.
It's a strange computer.
So
they had to. Commodore couldn't sell their computers directly, so they went through this local company called Green. So they sold Green Commodore 64s.
Nice. It's cool that you have the 50 Hz and 60 Hz option, because it's one of the complaints that people from the US have, is that they are forced to do it in 60 Hz, and they don't have a way to switch to 50.
No, it's a pain to do coding demos that would work in both NTSC and PAL, because if you do effects that are synchronized to the beam, well, you have 64 clocks on one machine, and 62 on one and 63 on another, so you actually need to do two demos, one for NTSC and one for PAL, and they're completely different.
I remember seeing some demos that were like fixed for NTSC or fixed for PAL, that were just, I guess, debug the code and change some stuff to make them work properly again.
Yeah, but some demos are easy. I mean, this demo could be done for NTSC because, of course, they multiplex sprites, etc., but there are not that many effects that are locked to the beam on every raster line, etc. But it would take an extra effort to port it to NTSC machine as well.
Yeah, Mr. Sid says it here. Green is 50 Hz, but with 65 cycles per line.
Ooh, an extra 2 cycles. Maybe we can play another samples channel or something.
Yeah, it's a strange machine.
And Jackass was saying like NTSC is strange because the vertical blank is much smaller on an NTSC machine. We can do quite a lot of things in the border on a PAL machine, because you have like 200 lines that are visible inside the screen, and then you have like 113 lines that are outside of the border if you don't open the border, of course. Good night, Trap. Sleep well. Take care.
I'm gonna move on to the next demo, which is Scene of the Living Dead by Atlantis and Dealey Sid. I have 2 mirror demos lined up, the stuff from Function, so don't everybody go to bed just yet. We're about to wrap up anyways.
We'll call Trap and wake him up.
Yeah.
We can give him a banana, maybe he wakes up. Scene
Trap.
of the Living Dead.
Yeah, this is of course. Yeah. This one.
What about parties that are coming up? Is there anything in particular? I know there's Syntax happening in Australia that usually has some C64 releases. Any other C64 demos, demo compos, demo parties that are happening?
We have a Forndata Swedish party with Christmas theme in December.
Ah,
the
nice.
19th.
Will it be like physical, limited people, or online?
It's online, but they will gather some people on the island of Gotland in Sweden.
Okay.
Okay.
It's for Amiga and C64. And I will have a demo show there from Gubbdata streaming also.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But everything that is sent in must have a Christmas theme.
Ooh. Christmas combo, yeah.
And then you have Fjälldata also in, I guess they are doing it again in February.
I like this effect. That's really well done. I mean, I'm not used to dots, of course, but this is really nice.
Yeah, organic.
Yeah. And I haven't really seen, I mean, that kind of dot plotting. It's really well done, I'd say.
Did you have many parties in UK, raistlin, when you were young, or how was the scene there?
Dead, pretty much dead.
Dead.
In UK?
You invented the game. I mean, all the pioneers doing games were doing it in the UK
Yeah.
in the early 80s. I mean,
Yeah.
would you say that the scene was never something?
There wasn't a lot of demo coders here. Mostly people cracking games or making games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
UK scene has
Maybe
been weird on all platforms, so I guess it makes sense that it's also weird on C64.
But there could be a reason for that, because if most people in UK that had computers were making games, they weren't very fond of people cracking games, right?
Well, yeah.
And some of the demo scene actually originated from those intros and game cracking.
Well, there were a lot of people making games in Scandinavia as well, and they were still cracking them like crazy. So
No, but not on the same. I'm talking about 1983, 1984. There weren't a lot of game makers in Sweden back then.
okay.
We were late in the game to actually start making games. As far as I know. Of course, I don't know everything. But
I
the
was
scene,
like 4 years old or 5 years old in 83, so I don't know for sure.
One of the pioneers did the games for Handic, right? Space Action by... Who is it who made Space Action? It's a Swede in 83 or something.
Yeah, that's true.
But there was
yes,
this whole boom when these new computers were coming out, the C64, the Spectrum, even the Amiga, where there were a lot of bedroom people making games. I know that much from documentaries and stuff like that, like one-man show that did everything, and then eventually would get recruited to this big company and just do concept games on demand for other people. So those are the stories that I heard.
Yeah, of course. Someone was living that dream, absolutely, and some got rich and could buy a car or something. So it was fun times, because I mean, you could, for just 2 or 3 people, actually make a good game. And then came the PC and the Amiga, and that was completely dead. It was, I mean, you couldn't do a game with 2 people, but that had actually that came back when we got like iOS and Android. Because suddenly you could do two-man games again, and actually get kind of fun games. I mean, many games are just copies of games we did in the 80s, but then again, it was a new platform
And a
you had
different
to adapt.
interface.
Yeah, you couldn't do joysticks, so you had to do something else. But
Now you
yeah,
get AAAs as well on mobile, so it's kind of hard to compete. I guess
Yeah.
raistlin knows a bit more about that, no?
Yeah, it's getting pretty crazy on all platforms. Even the simplest games, you know, the match 3 games, they'll have 200 people in the studio researching how to extract money from everybody.
Yeah.
They've got whole departments that are just dealing with like
Monetization, psychology, yeah. How to make people pay to.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
How many were you when you did the test drive games with it?
We started with about 8. We were just on Destruction Derby. We were 5 people, and that was about 9 months worth of work. Test drive series was about 8 to got to about 15 in the end. About a year each. Yeah, and now the game's 600, 700 people.
It's just crazy. And the game industry has become the largest industry in the world. Like, it surpasses the movie industry. So, behold the power of games. Talking about games, this is Gamer Troll by Lethargy.
Yeah. I would say that quite a lot of this demo is actually a rip-off from from performers. They start with a diagonal screen coming in, but it's not 5 screens, just one. And then they recycle some of my effects as well. So, well,
It's a tribute. It's an homage.
Yeah, of course.
I hope they put greetings to you in the end.
I don't know actually, but I mean this is just a copy of my greeting scroller, but it's a nice one, of course. But I recognize quite a lot of it.
Did you do a noise effect as well?
Yeah, absolutely. But they have some difference here, because in some of the parts they do noisy overlays with pictures like this.
This looks pretty good.
Yeah, I never did a static picture like that. I kind of made animations instead.
Like the double layers really feels like it's not Commodore 64. A lot of people saying that this reminds more of a NES demo than actually C64 demo.
Yeah, that's true. I exaggerated with having like blocky graphics in the sprites as well, but what they did here is have smooth sprites and then the char layer and then the color layer. So, but this one is their own, I guess, doing a bump map or whatever you want to call it.
Real-time illumination. Of over 100 polygons.
Yeah.
It's probably an animation though. Is there ever a Final Fantasy version for the Commodore 64? No, right?
No, I don't think so.
There's a guy in his sisters though.
But I have mixed feelings of involving Nintendo in the C64 demo scene.
Yeah, I also found
weird.
it a bit weird, but it's a gamer show, so everything gaming, I guess. Everything gaming goes.
Yeah,
my
but
first thought was, why is this not coded for the NES then?
Yeah.
They could have done a cool NES demo, but
yeah.
Because they love the Commodore 64. They want to show all the capabilities that the Commodore 64 can do NES even better.
But it's
with less colors.
Yeah. And the SID chip, of course.
Yeah.
Playing NES music.
So I guess the next step is doing an NES demo that looks like a Commodore 64 demo.
Yeah, I hope so. That would be great. Flip disk. You can't flip disk on a Nintendo though, so.
Flip cartridge. It doesn't fit the other way around. What's wrong with this? Yeah, the same effect, but with the Koopa, whatever it's called. The music is pretty on point as well. It's a nice cover.
Yeah, that's true. So talking about game design, Mr. Sid 6581 did work on the Horizon Zero Dawn game. You were doing audio in that game, right? Or the audio engine. And I guess they're doing a sequel now with PlayStation 5, so...
Yeah, I heard about that. It was a really famous game, and I'm very happy that it finally came to PC, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy a PlayStation just to play this. I don't want to buy a PlayStation.
No. You're gonna buy a PlayStation 5 just to play the sequel now. Oh, you're still doing that. That's nice to hear. So I guess you've been busy with doing the Horizon Wild West, or what it called, Wild West. Yeah, it was Wild West, I guess. Anyway, I love the Horizon Zero Dawn game. It's really well done. But then again, I like the audio effects and the sound effects, but I don't like the music. I think the music is kind of a little bit ruining it, because... And now I have 10 seconds to state my point before I get bashed in the chat. But the music didn't fit the game. Sometimes you enter these weird synth sounds just in the middle out in the woods, and you never realized why. And the the nice title screen music just started out small and quiet, and it didn't really make an impact on me. I think it could be done much better than it was in the Horizon Zero Dawn game.
Criticism, harsh criticism from Mahoney himself.
Yeah, and then Jackasser says, well, he loves music. Okay,
do you work on games as well, Mahoney? What do you do for a living?
No. I've never... Yeah, I made one game for the Commodore 64 back in 1987, but that's not working in the games industry. No, the thing closest to a game industry I've been doing is actually work for ARM, doing GPUs for mobiles.
Cool.
So the GPUs in Samsung Galaxy 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Has some of my designs in it. But that's hardware. I'm a chip designer, so I've been doing chip design.
Cool.
But what I do right now is I work for Ericsson Research. So I'm researching in what gadgets you will have in 10 years time.
Nice.
And try to figure out nice things about those.
Okay.
So I'm a researcher, and actually I'm getting into brain research and cognitive skills as well. Because
for intuitive stuff, or?
Yeah, because I mean the next gadget you will have is gonna to try to understand you in much better ways than they do today, because what you have now is just a stupid touch interface, and this
it does have a camera and track your face and send all sorts of private information to places where it shouldn't be. So there's that.
Yeah, of course they track you, etc. And the future is going to be scary as hell, but then again I think we're already there.
Black Mirror is live.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, and being tracked everywhere, etc. So but let's try to find ways around that.
Use the Commodore 64 instead.
Absolutely, much better. And someone said Soda Designer as using emotive. I guess emotive is some kind of EEG brain interface.
I played around with that. It's very limited though. You don't really get the full control of it. You can either focus or not focus. And
exactly.
Doesn't really understand what you want to do.
That. And I think emotive, that kind of dry EEG cap, is kind of too limited, because you have like 86,000 million neurons in here in your cortex, while 16,000 millions of these are actually on the edge of your skull that is reachable by EEG, and having like 8 electrodes on top of your head won't solve anything. So, but it's part of the gadgets to come, and they are already doing implants on pigs to try to scan their brain from the inside of their brain. And thanks to people with nothing to lose, I mean, people who's been in accidents, etc., they're doing that kind of research on human beings as well. So it's kind of scary, but it could give insights in why people are so stupid as we are as human beings, and maybe how we can handle ourselves in groups. I think people in groups are the most stupid things that you ever can see. And this is a great demo, by the way. I should stop talking and watch those side scrollers, because they're awesome.
So this was the demo that you guys were supposed to deliver at X, and you decided to just release that function and now do another thing for X?
Yeah. For us, I mean, this demo was really difficult to work on, because we started on it, you know, at the end of 2019, I think, and when sort of coronavirus hit, a couple of us had problems with family members who passed, and there was a lot of sort of negativity about 2020. That this was a really hard thing to keep going. So I think a lot of us struggled with it. And we looked at, when the delayed X, we wondered, you know, do we keep going with it into next year? We were sort of getting depressed from the theme. So like, no, let's just push on and just...
Was the theme on purpose because of COVID, or it was just an accident?
No.
It was planned to begin with as a Mexican-style colored skull thing.
Halloween kind of thing.
Yes, Halloween kind of thing. And it started there, and then Corona hit, and it took another path.
Yeah.
It got darker and darker, and yeah, things happened, and we reshaped it a couple of times, and when we changed the theme to honor people passed away, it was easier to work on it, and it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Theme.
It's like a memorial kind of thing.
Yes. And I have always been more about narrative and feeling in demos more than code, because I don't know code any. So, but I think I know what people like to see and experience. I think at least. But raistlin fought for a long time to get this started again.
I love this scroller. It's really, really well done. And it's just the turn disc part. It's just like...
Yeah, we put the greetings there. So you can choose to read them all or not.
Yeah, I just love it. It's really, really well done. It's nice. It's difficult. I mean, it's coder porn definitely, and it's... Yeah, just love it. Don't cry because it's over, smile because it's happened.
This one you can talk about a bit, raistlin.
Yeah, I mean, it was when we got this piece of art from Raceback. This was what really changed the theme of the demo, because we realized when we got this, we couldn't mix it with the Mexican theme at all.
Mm-hmm.
But we couldn't not use this art as well. We had to build the demo around this. You know, it's the best thing we've ever seen. Yeah. But I mean, the code for this as well. So I had this part running for probably about 18 months now. But for a large part of that, it was actually running in about 3 frames, so 16.66 milliseconds. And it was only just not possible to do it in 25 at the time. So we were using LFT's Spindle IRQ loader. It was when we swapped over to Sparkle. We got really, really close. It was just annoyingly close to 25 frames a second. So I started talking to Sparta, and we had a lot of back and forth about how the loaders work. Because a lot of the problems with the IRQ loaders that you have on the 64, they're coded by different people, and those people are really, really clever, and they don't have a lot of time for dealing with demo coders about sort of the best way to squeeze things out of the loaders. But with Sparta, we were sending him the data, we were sending him the part, and he was telling us how to just change things around a little bit just to get the data to load in just that little bit faster. And yeah, we hit 25. Then we just had to go a little bit further, because the problem with Commodore 64 as well is you test on emulators and you test on your cartridge that does the loading from a USB stick. But then somebody like hedning will burn it to a real disk and put it into his 1541, and you know there's.
And then you get read errors, and then suddenly you can't scroll anymore.
Yeah.
No, but you have to assume that the disk is error-free at least. But it's a really nice effort to make a scroller like that. Absolutely.
We had to test it on real drives, of course. So I had it running on 5 different drives for 2 hours each, and just to see that it rolled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And Jackass in Boost Design actually asking you a quite technical question. Do you line crunch to simplify scroller? Or can you describe how you actually do the scrolling?
No, there's no fancy Vic tricks at all. We just scroll. It's 192 pixels tall, so there's no line crunch there. And we just cleverly interleave all of the data copying in amongst the side border code as much as we can. because we want to leave as much as possible outside of the sideboard code for the IRQ loader. Because it takes a long time to load from the desk. Yeah.
Okay, so I just set the demo looping while we were still talking. Don't know if any of you guys still has anything they would like to add about this demo or about 2020 64 scene in general.
Yeah, I'm hoping for X 2021, or at least I hope for demo parties to come rolling again.
Yeah.
What's gonna be the dates for X 2010? Has it been announced already?
No, it's December next year.
December. Okay.
But because to me, at least personally, this scene without those parties is kind of meaningless.
And
I'm not.
X feels like it really pushed C64 scene to be more accomplished. I compare it with the Spectrum a lot, and there is like no big party like there is for the Commodore 64. And it seems like a lot of the groups on the C64 are holding up their really big demo to deliver at X every second year. So it really keeps people active and thinking of doing new stuff and things like that. So it's really, it would be a real shame if X wouldn't happen next year. As well, or if I don't know if they consider doing it online at all, if there's still COVID restrictions up.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a sad state for me when you can't meet people, because all my inspiration for doing more demos is kind of gone. I'm kind of a person who don't like to do something that somebody else has done ever, and not even myself. So I wouldn't repeat or copy a routine that I've done before, unless I can improve it somehow. And doing that for the cheer of 15 guys online is just not worth it.
15? It's not 15 online. You can get like 100, 300 online.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. I'd rather have a pat on the back from someone physical saying, "That's cool, great, good work," instead of having
I can understand that. It still feels a bit weird to me though, but I don't know. But yeah, seeing things on the big screen is a different experience.
Yeah. Well, I don't do it for seeing it on the big screen. I would do it for seeing people's reaction when it's shown on the big screen, because I can fix a big screen in my own room. It's not that. And I mean, I have good speakers and good setup, but having the reactions from an audience live, that's why I do demos, and not for the crowd on CSDB or any other online media. So, and then again, I mean, we're kind of dying out. The people who cares about the C64 are fewer and fewer.
It's been dying out since 20, 30 years, so I don't think that's a really good excuse anymore.
No, I don't say that the scene is dead. I'm just saying it gets smaller. And
we just had statistics from Hedning saying otherwise. We got more releases this year than last year.
It was dead around 2000. It was dead. Then it came back.
Check the stats, Mahoney. Check the stats.
Yeah, that's true. But now it's just a lot of effort. So I mean, for the next X demo, I have a greetings part that I've been working on for 2 years now.
And then maybe the rest of the performers can do the build up to that.
Yeah, so Bitbreaker is jokingly saying like, just let's build a demo around Mahoney's greetings part. And but he has 2 awesome parts as well, just lying around. So hopefully we get together all of these 3 awesome parts into a demo, and then we just fill it with some nice graphics and stuff around it. So
nice. That will be cool.
But then again, if there's no X, then I don't actually know if I take myself the time to finalize those parts. Unless there's a physical X. It's just a feeling that maybe it's not worth it. I mean, the time I invest in that, I could invest in something else that would be more worth it.
Are you doing something for Fjelldata though? Aren't you going there on February?
I don't know if there is a Fjelldata announced for February now. We'll see what happens. I mean, Red Crab got a girlfriend, right? So.
And then the whole scene went to shit.
Yeah.
Oh, you never know. No, but I mean, COVID things in Sweden is strange. Since
Yeah,
just a
I
week
heard
back.
it's been more restrictive now than it was in the beginning. Like people were saying, like Sweden is an example of how you can leave everything open and it still works fine. But no, it actually
No,
you
but
had
we
to start
could.
locking down.
Yeah, we could up till 2 weeks ago, but then
Yeah.
something happened, and it happened all over Europe. So it's
Yeah.
nothing special to Sweden. I think now Sweden is very much like all the other countries.
Yeah, second wave.
We had it. Yeah, we had a history of not locking down, and it worked pretty well until some of the care houses for the elderly people got sick
got
in there.
infected.
So,
yeah, and then it
yeah.
boom.
So the infection got into the elder homes, and that was really bad. And I mean, that's not because something that happened today or this year. It's something that happened for the last 10 or 15 years when they stopped pouring money into taking care of the elderly people. So by political reasons, the persons, that should be taking care of the elderly people were suddenly not taking responsibility, not even having the feeling that they should take responsibility because they were having such bad working conditions to start with. So it's just a political game that went wrong when it comes to this. And I'm no expert in how it should be done. I'm no expert in how we are doing and etc. But what I see right now is like Denmark and Sweden are doing exactly the same thing as Norway and the other countries around here. And now I just got like in my phone today, I received like 5 emails from different institutions, gym classes, schools, etc., saying like, please don't come here, please don't visit us, just stay home. And yes, you have to send your kids to school, but please don't join them when they go swimming, or rather just keep them home. And so all institutions in Sweden are trying to say like, just do nothing, please, for a while.
Yeah, stay home for 15 days, see if this improves.
Yeah, more or less. So that's the state, and that doesn't inspire me to go and code demos right now.
No.
Unfortunately. So
Okay. Genesis project. What about you? Are you guys thinking of doing something, or are you still in COVID lockdown in your heads as well?
We have been very active all the time, I think, this year.
Yeah, but I mean, after this function release that you did, this major release.
We have more stuff growing. We have just started an Atari section. I'm hoping to see some Atari stuff. And I know raistlin has some stuff going too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Okay.
We're not slowing down.
Looking forward to seeing those releases then. Okay, unless there's anything else anyone of you guys would like to mention, I would wrap the show up.
No,
Okay,
I
so-
would say thanks for having us.
Thanks for having
My
us.
pleasure.
It's been a really nice evening, for me at least.
I learned a lot about the C64. That's the cool thing of having these shows or platforms that I'm not as familiar with. I learned a lot about how it works. So one day I will have a C64 senior complaining about something, and I will pick up this random knowledge from shit tons of time ago and say, you should try this. I never tried it. I never had a C64, but I heard someone say about this at some point in time, and that will solve all their problems or not. Anyways,
That's great.
thank you everybody for joining. I would like just to greet my Patreon supporters real quick. Garfield, Jeff Thornbun, Paul John Poptit, El Topo, Fulcrum, Paul Falcão, Get It Wessendorf, Evil, Gaspod, Branch, VC, Speaky, Seism, and Krobby Sour. Thank you so much for your Patreon support, for doing the stuff that I do online with and without Mystery Demoscene Theater 9000. Thank you, Mahoney. Thank you, Raistlin. Thank you, hedning, for joining me today, watching some awesome C64 demos. And everybody on the chat, of course, that participated today. Great to have you. And see you next time. I'm thinking of doing something maybe in 1 week or 2 weeks, more focused on the PC scene. I guess similar to this, but just with PC releases. So I'll see you guys then. Bye bye, everyone. Take care.
Take care.
Take care.